Disco's back, back again. Disco's back. Tell a friend. Okay,
Yeah,
that's about how far I got with that. So
for the last time.
for the
This is
last
the end.
time,
Um, you watch. But before we get started, you watch Yellowstone, right?
yeah,
You
and
may not have heard if you haven't. This is big in native spaces. Um, but Cole brings plenty.
yeah, I heard about that.
Was recently murdered. So I just clearly
Yeah.
a hate crime. His hair was chopped off. It's clearly a hate symbol. Um,
Yeah. His
so
uncle is on Yellowstone. He was on 1923, I believe. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
watch any of those.
They're all in the
Um,
Taylor Sheridan verse,
yeah,
basically. You know, they're about the same. There's like Yellowstone, and then all of the ones that are sort of like yours are like the Dutton family through,
yeah, yeah.
and how
I
they were
figured.
good friends or whatever to Native people, clearly, or
Uh,
something. I don't know.
I know a lot of Native people who don't like those shows. I've never
Well,
seen them, so I don't know. But this is still a tragedy. Like,
yeah, it is well, I mean, he was working. And the one thing you can say about Yellowstone is it was giving a lot of Native people work that were
mm,
not normally seen by people, like Indigenous folks who would not normally be in a
yeah,
show. So, I
I
mean, there's a lot of like bullshit about John Dutton or, them protecting the land and shit. But, the
yeah,
white folks are not doing, no.
yeah. I mean, I've never watched a single episode. I
I
only
would
know it
not
from the.
suggest you do it.
I only know it from like the rhetoric around it and what I've seen in trailers, which it looked very. It looked like a western, and it looked like it probably treated natives the same way a western does, just updated.
I think that is probably pretty accurate. I think you had a good read on it. And yeah, I mean, I started watching it because I was trying to finish a whole bunch of essays for my undergrad. And I was sort of like, I need to watch something that I don't really care that much about. And there was a lot of Yellowstone to binge. And so
Mhm.
that's what I did when I was like, I would write and write and write. And then I'd
Like
watch an episode.
like how I watched a shit ton of House when I was in art school, because House is the sort of show you can just be like, background noise. I'm going to draw now.
House, the funny thing is, and I swear to God, we'll get to Disco soon because we've got like more people watching than ever before. So thank you,
Oh, do
everybody
we?
who's here. We're
I
like
don't.
at 11. We're at like
That's
11
dope.
viewers,
Uh,
which is
when
sadly 12
when
most.
when I'm streaming the Indigenous Anarchist Book Club, I can see like in the corner up here what our viewers are, but
Mhm.
because you're hosting me, I can't see what the viewership is.
Well, lucky 13, 12. Okay, it's going back and forth. But the point being, more people than usual. In any case, I was going to say, yeah, when Gary was sick, who is my partner, he was sick in the beginning of the pandemic and through the pandemic, not with pandemic stuff, with Crohn's. But when
Oh,
he was,
they finally established what it was.
yeah, it's Crohn's, and it was like a liver kind of
Okay.
infection that they didn't catch the first time. But when he was in hospital and they were trying to figure out what was wrong with him, I was watching House a lot because I found it very comforting because House would always figure it out, and I kept saying to Gary, you
Right.
know, if you were on House, he would have just killed you by and see, he would have just been like, let's just let him die and see what kills him and start from there. And he's like, okay, well, I'm glad that's not happening because he had like people coming in, infectious disease experts being like, have you been to sub-Saharan Africa? You know,
Yeah.
it's just really, anyway. Hi, this is StarTrekkin. I'm Nicole. Across Toronto is Green.
Over on the West End.
And
West End
yeah,
represents.
yeah, West End represent East Side, West Side. It's like a classic rap feud. In any case, except we're getting along. But like Book and Michael, it's been a while since we've been on a
Yeah.
mission together.
It's been a while since we've had any Star Trek. We've been, it's what, 6, 7 months since the last time we streamed.
Mm-hmm. It was a while ago. I'm gonna have to check. Actually, I'm
I
gonna
kind
look
of
in the library and see because
we also because you had school stuff. We didn't do the ending of Lower Decks, so we got like we
it
missed like the
was
last parts of Lower Decks.
literally okay. So recent today was about 6 months into the war.
Yeah,
For
yeah, and
Palestine,
that wasn't
and
going on.
the first time, the last time we streamed was October 9th. So I think things had just started.
Yep.
Yeah, so we haven't done that. There's been a whole lot of things going on since then. Yeah, it's been a lot. So we didn't get a chance to wrap up Lower Decks. But it was an excellent season. Briefly loved seeing the callback to the original OG Lower Decks crew with Sita Jax and
It was 6 months ago.
all
It's gone. I remember nothing.
it was basically where they brought back the original Tom Paris. The character Tom Paris was based on.
Right, the conspirator.
Yeah, he was the one
whole
behind it all.
time.
Yeah, and Mariner had a lot of, actually, as we've been saying, trauma over Sita Jackson dying, sacrificing herself and being her cool Bajoran friend who she thought was great, and basically her acting like we all figured Mariner would when she was in Starfleet Academy, which was like,
Yeah.
"Hey guys, hey, what you doing? What's going?"
Yeah,
And it was just
being a giant nerd.
yeah, and it was nice to see Will Wheaton play Wesley briefly. If it was just Wesley looking worried,
He just like pops up here and there for like tiny little cameos.
Yep. I mean,
if we ever do get Star Trek, whatever they were calling it, the 7 of 9 spinoff.
Yeah.
From Picard.
Legacy.
Legacy. Star Trek. If we ever do get Star Trek Legacy, and it looks less and less likely by the day, they've got to do something with Will Wheaton in there.
No kidding, eh? Like they really do, because as we've said a few times, like his Picard cameo was a waste without meeting, all of those things.
Nothing.
It should have been moved to the third season where he could have met his half brother, like hello, and been
different showrunners.
Yeah, it's just frustrating because I mean, I feel like Wesley would feel some kind of way about Jack Crusher being named Jack Crusher when his dad is not Jack Crusher. His dad is Jean-Luc Picard. Yeah. But I mean, like we said at the time, Picard is like, that's his best friend. How would he be sad about him being named after Jack? If it was his kid, he'd probably do that anyway.
I also I think we were we're here to discuss Discovery, not Picard, but I rewatched Picard season 3 in the break, and I didn't like it as much as we initially did.
Yeah, I mean, like
the nostalgia glasses really were just on full front, and I was just like, ooh, yes, give me the nostalgia chemicals. And it's still quite good right up until the Borg show up, and I think once the Borg show up, just falls apart.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just a really fan service, and I don't mind that. And I think we said that at the time, like that's not the end of the world either.
Yeah,
like it can be. That's cool, but
I don't have anything against the fan service per se. I think we probably talked about this a little when we did the stream as well. I think that the Borg stuff needed an episode or two more to be fleshed out. It just felt really rushed.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, and I thought it was Bev. I'm like, oh no, the red room, the red door. Beverly did something to her kid. She's made him into a super soldier or some shit. But no, it was just the Borg again.
The Red Angel.
Yeah. Or the Red Angel. That would have been cool.
I just kept thinking. We also spoke about this in the stream when we covered Picard. But I was always like, the whole time I was just like, Immortal Hulk.
Yeah, I know you were saying that's like a whole Immortal Hulk thing. So yeah, totally.
Well, because the green door and the red door are like different doors to hell in the Immortal Hulk, and they're like these big themes.
That's
Immortal Hulk
pretty
is
deep. The
really good, by
Hulk,
the way. It's just...
I mean, like generally the Hulk I've seen, like the Amadeus Cho Hulk and the Banner Hulk, like all of the Hulk stuff is like pretty deep, except for She Hulk. We were talking about that the other day, Gary and I,
I'm
about
not
how
a
great She Hulk was.
I'm not a big She-Hulk fan. I'm not a big Hulk fan. I actually really do like the She-Hulk comic. I think the She-Hulk comic's really good.
Well, that's what we were saying. She Hulk, the show, is like She Hulk, the comic, and people who didn't like it probably didn't read She Hulk, the comic, and realize that it's pretty much the same thing.
I do wish for that show they'd hire some actual legal writers, like some people who do law dramas. I think.
Oh yeah.
That aspect was really undersold. But yeah, I just thought that the Red Door and Picard really remind me of Immortal Hulk. Immortal Hulk's great. I'm not a Hulk fan, but it's one of the best things Marvel's ever put out.
Cool.
If you're looking for comic recommendations, it's one of the places I recommend starting. It's one of the best things I've ever read from Marvel. But it's just
that's says a lot.
Picard really riffed on that imagery, intentional or not, I don't know.
It's always hard to know. So I have lost my tabs again. I'm going to bring them up. I'm going to warn everyone right now that we are fairly unprepared. I just messaged Green and I was like, "Hey, so Disco," and they were like,
"They're out."
They're out, even though they had texted me about that before or messaged me. So
I knew they were coming. I knew that they were somewhere in the vicinity. I just didn't realize it actually
was
landed.
happening. Yeah. So they did land, and we've both seen them, so that's fine. But no rewatching. I did not watch it with the thought of streaming. I didn't take any notes. I have very little. So let's see how it goes.
I never prepare for these.
I try to take notes at least. I try to take notes of the important stuff, or at the very least, like what we want to discuss. But vibes only. And some recaps this stream, but hey, we're back, and that's the important thing. So Disco, the first 2 episodes, read directed by Olatunde Asun Tsunami. I'm sorry I messed that up, and written by Michelle Paradise, and Under the Twin Moons by Doug Arnie Koski, well, I messed up both people's names, Aranio Koski and Alan McElroy. So those were, I think, personally, I thought really excellent episodes. How did you feel about them?
They're solid. I find they were very competent. I don't want to diss them. I think they were both very good. What they didn't do, and this might actually prove to be a good thing in the long run, is they didn't get me super pumped. Like I find with a lot of we've run into this problems with Picard, and we run into this problem with earlier seasons of Discovery, where like the first couple episodes I'll be like, yeah, fuck yeah, this looks great, and then we'll get into it and be like, oh. So like
the promise of the first few episodes doesn't really bear out over the season the way that we think it will.
So whereas this is just like, okay, there's 2 fugitives and they're trying to capture the fugitives because of MacGuffin that ties into TNG. Like it's all very Star Trek-y, and it's all very like workhorsey. It doesn't seem super ambitious, and part of me is disappointed because Discovery has always been the super ambitious. I think Strange New Worlds lands better overall, but plays it really safe.
Mm-hmm.
Discovery historically just swings for the fences, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
And this felt like good, enjoyable. I enjoyed my time watching them. But it felt safer than the other 4 premieres of Discovery seasons.
Yeah, I can see that. I enjoyed them a lot, and I was saying, like I said to you before you watched them, that I figured I had a good time with them, and I figured they would hold up well to discussion, which is sort of like a reference to, how things went with Picard, which is sort of like, we would be really excited about it, watching it in the moment, and then when you think about it later, or you rewatch it, just on thinking about it later, it's like, does that actually like hold up together as an episode, and does it hold together as Star Trek? And
I wonder if this is going to actually going to take. We'll see. Like we've got it's a 10-episode season, yes.
I believe so. I'm going to double check that right now. Yes, 10 episodes, ends on May 30th. Yep.
So we got 8 more episodes to go, but I do wonder if like just after I do wonder if this might hold the test of time better. Although I love Discovery Season 4, I think Discovery Season 4 is some of the best Star Trek ever made.
Oh my god!
I don't necessarily feel that way about earlier seasons, but I loved 4.
Well, I'm still a big fan of Season 1, even though it has some bumps, but I really like Lorca. The earlier seasons have the benefit of having Michelle Yeoh too, which is great, and having like Mirror Universe stuff, which is a lot of fun. I'm
so upset that the Section 31 has been reduced to a movie.
Yeah,
I will watch the shit out of it, don't get me wrong, but I just love Michelle Yeoh in that role so much.
Hey, speaking of which, Michelle Yeoh, we hear you're in town. Please come on the stream or come and meet us and hang out. Any of the above is fine.
Well, we do know that some of the writers from Prodigy.
Yeah. Tell Michelle Yeoh we'll hook Michelle Yeoh up with the good Hakka food. If she doesn't know where it is, I know where it is. In Toronto. Good Hakka Chinese. Okay. That's the shit. That's what you want. Only a few places in the world have it. Restaurants, and Toronto's one of them. So just FYI, if you like Chinese food, come to Toronto.
I'm sure Michelle Yeoh, but because she's been filming this show for like 5 years now.
She probably knows where everything is. That's true. Yeah, she's been in Toronto quite a bit for the film festival too. That was one of her biggest things was at least in North America, I should say, because Michelle Yeoh has been famous elsewhere forever and a day.
I've been a massive Michelle Yeoh fan since like high school.
Oh yeah. So exactly, but one of her biggest kind of roles and moments was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon at TIFF, obviously. So yeah.
I used to watch, like, because I used to be in high school as a big Jackie Chan fan, so that's where I got introduced to her. And turns out he's a deadbeat, but she's dope and great.
Yeah. I mean, what are you gonna do? Famous guy has kids and won't support them, So be it. Okay. So these two episodes came together, and we were talking about how long they were before we came on stream, which was really interesting.
I mean, this is not that unusual. Long episodes are not that unusual for Discovery specifically. Like the series premiere was also an hour straight. So they Discovery was made for streaming right out the gate. Canada was only the other country that got it on cable, which is where I'm watching it now.
Me too. Yeah,
that's an unusual trait of Canada, because as a result, they've always sort of had these longer episodes or shorter episodes sometimes, but they haven't been consistent length like TNG and TOS episodes would be.
Yeah. No, I find it's nice. Like, the first episode was, you said 50 minutes, and the second one was the solid.
No, other way around. First episode was a solid hour, and second episode was 50 minutes.
Yeah, and that's what it felt like. Like, it really did. It was very packed, but it felt like it just kept going, which was in not a bad way, in a good way, actually. So first episode, let me find a short synopsis of it so we can go through that. So where is it? Okay, we're going to go with the one-line ones. Red Directive, Captain Burnham and the crew of the USS Discovery are sent to recover a mysterious artifact hidden inside an 800-year Romulan vessel, but they discover that they are not the only ones looking for it. So,
Mm-hmm.
so
we have some new villains.
Mm-hmm.
These are it's interesting when like I find a lot of New Trek would try and like tie these sort of villains into the legacy. Although there may be a reason why they didn't, because one of them is revealed later on has some ties to book. Oh, by
Which
the way,
I like better.
We are if anyone's watching this and hasn't watched them yet, we are going to spoil the shit out of this.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert! If you have not watched these episodes, like you might want to watch this later.
Come back later.
Yeah. So please, spoilers. Yes, we spoil this. We spoil all of Discovery that we can remember. We will talk about Lower Decks, probably other card, probably all Star Trek, because it all comes together. So if you don't want to be spoiled for anything, come back later, or just watch more Star Trek. Everyone should watch more Star Trek, especially Discovery, because can I just say before we get into it, I was really happy to have Discovery back, and I'm really sad that we're going to not have it anymore. And I've seen some recent kind of articles saying like this is the most important Star Trek show of the past like 20 years or of the decade, and it is because everything comes from Discovery, and it doesn't matter if you like Discovery or not. Like everything comes from Discovery, and look at the faces that we have just even above us. Like this is one of the most representative Star Trek casts I've ever seen.
It's the first. It's really the first one to introduce proper LGBT rep into it, right? There was the one episode of DS9, but for the most part, this was the first time we got to see queerness in Star Trek. Mm-hmm. And oh boy, is there a lot of it now. Which is like good. This is a good thing.
I mean, Strange New Worlds is even queerer, and if we would have our way, perhaps poly as well.
I would have agreed about season 1. I feel the queer rep in season 2 was lacking. Season 2 felt really. We can talk about that later.
You're probably right.
Season 2 felt really safe, whereas like season 1 felt. I think this is endemic of. I am a little worried this will happen with Discovery as well, which is just that Paramount, I think, is like trying to rein back how like, I don't want to say leftist because representation isn't inherently leftist, but how strong how
obvious.
And how like I think Paramount wants to appeal to a larger audience with Trek. So I think it wants to tamp back some of the overt issues of like representation and stuff. I really got that vibe from Strange New World season 2. I do wonder if this is why Discovery is on the chopping block.
Well, I would say with Strange New Worlds, one of the things you can look at with that is the first season wasn't thematically ambitious in the way the second season is. So maybe they only have room to like handle so much at a time. Like if they're fighting for like we are going to make a musical, they have a harder time saying also Spock and T'Pring and Chapel are going to be in a 3-way relationship.
We'll see that. I mean, they might pull the trigger on that one because they certainly seem to be leaning that way.
Well, I hope so. I mean, she's off like doing her own thing now. So I mean, Chapel. So we'll see. We'll see. It's a possibility.
Just like Book came back right in the first episode. I expect Chapel. I have a wooden knife for some reason.
Chapel's stuck.
I expect Chapel will be back very early. Just like they brought what's her the number 1 back like 2 episodes.
Oh yeah.
I don't expect Chapel to be gone long.
No.
Getting back to Discovery, like we saw Book and Tilly back for episode 1.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Tilly's around for both episodes.
Yeah.
She's just sort of like, oh, I can be borrowed, and Tilly.
Well, I suspect they had more planned for her, And then I suspect that when this was announced to be the final season, they were like, oh, we have to scrap that plot line, bring her back, make her part of the cast. She's been here the whole time. We're not going to do the last season without her.
Yeah. And to be honest, like, we don't know what's happening with Starfleet Academy. I think it said something about the 32nd century or reopening after a certain amount of time. So Tilly, like, Mary Wiseman could be one of the main cast of that.
It's a strong spin-off like concept. The other reason why I think we're talking about how Discovery was the most important Star Trek. I think the main reason why Discovery is the most important Star Trek, and I do think it is because of all the new Trek. Season 1 and 2 not so much, but season 3, 4, and 5 have been the only Trek that aren't mired in nostalgia and sort of a backward-looking gaze.
Yeah. We've talked about that before. Yeah.
And I think that can't be understated. I love Lower Decks. Lower Decks is very enamored with TNG. I love Strange New World. Strange New World is very enamored with TOS. And like, we don't know what's happening with Section 31 beyond the fact that it's been reduced to a movie.
And Prodigy. Prodigy is the Voyager.
Prodigy is very enamored with Voyager, although I think Prodigy does
move things forward a bit more. Yeah. But they're still in that period of time. They're still in like Admiral Janeway period. Admiral Picard.
Prodigy is for the most part off doing its own thing. At least I do gotta give Prodigy credit. I think
it's like really it's so wonderful.
It's such a good show.
It's like my favorite one.
I think it's the strongest one. I think it is. Prodigy is wonderful. I'm happy it didn't get canceled. I'm a bit angry. Sorry, not angry is the wrong word. We kind of had a monopoly because Prodigy was largely. And I think part of the reason why Prodigy was canceled was because we were like one of the only people talking about it. It had no one was covering
that's why Aaron Waltke would show up on our stream is because we were talking about, we were like, we love Prodigy, and he's probably was like, oh God, someone does, thank God, like someone's talking about our show, right?
Like for online media, we were like some of the only people talking about it, which is why we'd have Prodigy writers show up in our chat, even because we're tiny,
which is wonderful. I love I really appreciated that. That was super cool. And we got some cool info. So,
after it was canceled and revived, we have lost the monopoly. I can guarantee you everyone's going to be talking about season 2.
Yeah. That's okay though. It deserves to be talked about.
More Trek is more Trek.
More Trek is more Trek, and it deserves to be talked about. And one of the things I liked about Discovery being like recognized is that recognition, because Discovery's gotten so much shit over time from certain groups for whatever reason.
Worst people.
From the worst people, from racist people, from people who are really enamored with Cameron and are like, Klingons look different and I'm pissed, all kinds of stuff.
And even the complaints I have with the earlier seasons are complaints within the structure of the show.
Oh yeah.
Like my complaints about season 1 are mostly with pacing. I think it has some pacing issues.
Yeah, I mean, and I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I just fucking love Lorca so much. I'm like, thank God there's an evil Starfleet captain.
It's right? A good twist. It's a good twist. I don't think they did it well, but it's a good twist.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And so I'm hoping we'll see Lorca. I don't think we will, but
it wouldn't be
Prime Lorca may still be out there somewhere. I don't know.
With one season left, or with this being the last season, maybe we'll get a cameo at the end or something. But yeah, I don't expect
Lorca, Prime Lorca. Although, again, he'd have to come forward in time.
Yeah, Lorca would be in the past. So if we're going to see, if we were going to see Lorca anywhere, it would have been Picard.
Prime Lorca. Prime Lorca is not going to happen. Probably he's been dead. Unless he came forward in time, or I don't know. Maybe there's another mirror universe where a Lorca can come from.
I mean, we could see Prime Lorca in Stranger Worlds because Pike was the one who replaced him on Discovery.
That's true.
So we could see him on Stranger Worlds.
That would be cool.
But either way, let's get into the episodes.
Yeah, let's get into the episodes. So what we have is we have a lot of changes coming up, and very interesting sorts of dynamics with relationships. And one of the coolest things that I noticed through these 2 episodes is people being mirrors of one another, or relationships being mirrors. So we have Callum Keith Rennie as the Antares captain. Oh God, I'm gonna look up his name. Don't know why I don't remember it, but in any case, he is really an interesting guy. And they probably have him because he's Callum Keith Rennie as well. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
I was gonna say I'm not a fan of the tough guy archetype. I do the hard things so good, so I make the hard decision. I don't like that archetype. I get why he's there. He's there to be a foil to Michael. Structurally, it makes sense.
I don't think he's a foil to Michael. I think he's Michael's mirror. I think there's a reason why they keep talking about, hey, he's, book keeps going, oh yeah, does he remind you of someone? Captain Rayner. Yeah. So Rayner is like Michael. And that's why part of the reason she gives him a second chance is because she sees him in her, herself, She
is a war criminal.
Well, exactly. And it does get brought up in these episodes. The second episode, Saru is like, yeah, you came on, you were a prisoner, you were all of these things, and you've come so far. And I think that was also a gentle way of Saru directing her, in a way of saying, like, look at Rayner differently and consider someone like that as your second.
Since they came to the future, that's really the first time they've acknowledged it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, like, I guess it wouldn't be the smartest thing to tell people in the future, but I suppose they have records, like they can still find out.
I think it does get very briefly addressed in season 3, because there is a part where Starfleet has to be like, what the fuck do we do with you?
Yeah. But I thought it was nice to see them kind of like be together at first as well. In that kind of like opening scene.
I love Michael and Saru's relationship. I've loved it since season 1. Like I said, my complaints with season 1 are largely with the way the storytelling and story structure. I have loved Tilly, Michael, and Saru's relationship right out the gate. They were right out the gate. They were my favorite trilogy.
I love that Tilly got asked to do something when she was drunk, and she's like, whatever you need. And I'm like, that's because Tilly is like, she's like, Michael's my best friend. I'm ride or die. Whatever you need, Michael, I will hack into the Starfleet mainframe for you. No problem. So yeah, I love that. But yeah, sorry. So this is just driving me nuts. So Michael has sort of Rayner, who is sort of like how Michael was initially, and how Michael still is, because, like, honestly, they were both crazy people in the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the episode, Michael's riding the, Maul and Locke ship, and Rayner is like, I refuse to let them go, even though it will tear their ship apart. So I'm like, you guys are arguing, but you're basically the same people. And I think that's Vance realizes that too. That's kind of like why he's like, maybe you two could work together, because you're exactly the same. Book says you're exactly the same.
It's a minor nitpick, but Michael should not have been thrown off their ship, because there's no friction in space.
I don't know if she was thrown off or if she released the magnetization. So because they were getting let go. But yeah, I was actually saying about Rayner, and he does kind of seem like the white guy, tough guy, kind of, older dude,
but
with bat ears. But honestly, I don't know about the casting. We'll have to look it up. But I was saying to Gary, I think pretty much anyone could have been cast in that part. I don't think it would have mattered who it was, but I think they had Callum Keith Rennie available, and we're like, why wouldn't we have Callum Keith Rennie if he wants to be in this show?
I watch so little TV and so few. Like, this is the first TV show I have really watched.
Yeah.
Since Lower Decks, I have not watched a TV show in 6 months.
Yeah.
Well,
so he's just like really well known. He's due south. He was in that. He was in Hardcore Logo. He was in.
Then I should know him because I love Hardcore Logo and I love Due South. I have a complicated relationship with, but I enjoyed it as a child.
Yeah, and he is the most like he was going on to a plane and Gary saw him and didn't talk to him, and I'm like, why the fuck do you need to talk to him? Because he's like, well, I would have gone and said, you're the best Cylon ever, and I'm like, he was the best Cylon ever. He was a great Cylon. He was Leoben.
Okay, so that's probably where most people would know him from is the other sci-fi show that I never watched,
Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, so I mean, like. Now that's like 20 some odd years ago, so he definitely looks really different. I feel I've collapsed into a cloud of dust.
This is why like Due South and Hardcore Logo are 30 years old, so if he's in that, no wonder I didn't recognize him. I'm guessing he played Joe Dick.
I believe so. I'm gonna look it up, but I like him so much as an actor. He's a really interesting dude.
Okay, now that I know he's in Hardcore Logo is one of my favorite movies of all time, so now that I know I own the comic book adaptation on Hardcore Logo. I love it that much.
Really?
I own the only copy of the Hardcore Logo comic book I have ever laid eyes on.
Wow. Let me see. Maybe Hardcore. He was Billy Talent.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. Joe Dick was the dude from the Headstones. That's right. Billy Talent was who I was thinking of.
Yeah,
I got their names confused because
that's where Billy Talent comes from.
Yes,
now I know.
Yeah, Billy Talent is expressly named after that band.
Yeah, he was in that. He was in Last Night. He was in Existence. Last Night is one of my favorite movies ever. Just wonderful. If you want to see an end of the world movie, go and watch Don McKellar's Last Night. It's exceptional.
That might be why they were able to get him because Existent was directed by Cronenberg.
Yes, Existence was directed by who is back, baby.
Yeah, you can give me as much Cronenberg. Star Trek Discovery can give me all the Cronenberg they want. I love that character.
Callum Keith Rennie also in Blade Trinity, the best Blade movie. We'll take no arguments about that.
Hard disagree.
Oh, it's amazing. I love it so much. Blade Trinity is exceptional. He was in 50 Shades of Grey. Jesus. Sorry, buddy. He was in X-Files, I Want to Believe. He's been in a lot of stuff. A lot of movies.
Yeah, so I'm looking up now. He's
X-Files, Outer Limits, Forever Night, Highlander the series.
Yeah, he's a Toronto guy. These are all Toronto shows.
Yeah. He's a Toronto guy. Due South, yes. Detective Stanley Raymond Kowalski. He's done everything. He's done literally everything. Every genre show that exists, more or less, Callum Keith Rennie has been in. So I'm guessing that's the main reason. And I don't think I've seen some comments about, there's finally a white guy on the bridge, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, but I think
Saru?
Yeah, well, Saru is an alien, but yeah, Pike, but also there's, Lorca. But then, I think as I said, I think they would have taken literally anybody who was cool to do this role if they didn't write it for him himself, because he's just great. He's great. He's been in so many good movies. And his work as Leoben is really good. So I'm interested to see what they do with him, because he there's been some comparisons to Shaw from the last season of Picard. No, from Strange New. Last season of Picard.
He does Shaw vibes. He does give me Shaw vibes. So
he has vaguely Shaw vibes. I think he's more kind of a Mariner kind of guy, to be honest. Vance said he gets in his own way,
Where I started to dislike, because I liked him at first, when I started disliking him was when he was on trial. In episode 2.
The best part I really liked about him being on trial is as soon as they leave and Michael leaves, where she's like, you're not helping yourself and all of this, and then they leave.
Mhm.
he says to himself, I forget what exactly happens. He goes, shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've done it again. And that's what I really liked because I can relate.
I did grok that, yes.
Yeah. Cause so I think like he just gets he thinks like a lot of us, he thinks he's right. And he's
Mhm.
very passionate about what he believes and he gets carried away with it and then realized he's fucked up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We'll see. He does remind me a lot of Mariner. I just there's a tough guyness to him that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but
But if
not,
Michael did the same thing, it wouldn't be the same, I
it
think, you
was
know?
it was like it was his behavior in the trial, like
Mm.
in his post hoc rationalization of everything. That was the moment where I kind of turned on him.
Yeah. What
Um,
I think he's got, well, like we keep saying, oh, like most of Star Trek is about trauma.
yeah,
These days he's probably got some shit. Like you said, he's been on how many red directives?
yeah. He's been with the Federation for 30 years, so he's with them through the burn. He's with them through the war, and so he's clearly got some trauma going on.
Yeah, so I think he's just having some adjustment issues. It should be interesting to see, especially because Michael hated him at first too. Um,
Yep.
because you know he is Michael and Michael is him. They've got a Kirk vibe going on. And so it should be interesting because Michael, I feel like, is in a better place as far as that stuff goes.
Yeah, it's weird of them. I mean, clearly he's not going to be gone for the because clearly they're not going to take him away for the whole rest of the season. But it is weird that they would take Saru off the bridge at the start of the final season.
I think it's because that's just where his story was going. Maybe it was too hard to kind of like move back from that, even though they were
This is a
wrapping things
logical.
up.
No, this is a logical place to take him. I'm just surprised they're not doing it at the end of the season.
I don't know. I really like his relationship, so I'm really excited we get to see more. And maybe that's really what they wanted to do was
and yeah, and I don't
give
think,
us this chance to see this happen.
And I don't think I don't think this is the last one. Like I don't think they're going to actually take him off the show. Like I don't for a second think that they're going to let Saru sit out the last season of the show. Although that'd be a great practical joke.
I was watching actually a video with Doug Jones, speaking of Saru, talking about Action Saru, and his stunt double who did most of the running, who he's very appreciative of. But I was very amused because he was talking a lot with his hands, and he reminded me instantly about how he talks of the Baron from What We Do in the Shadows, because his hand gestures are exactly like the Baron's hand gestures, which I think is hilarious.
A show I started watching and then fell off of because I just don't watch fucking TV. Also, I canceled my Disney Plus.
Yeah. Well, it's on reruns a lot on FX, so there's always that. But you don't have cable too, so
yeah. I do have cable.
Oh, well, there you go. Well,
that's why I'm watching Star Trek right now. I just it's just not in my bedroom, and I don't leave my bedroom very often these days for reasons that the public doesn't need to know about.
Right. Well, it's often on FX if you're out and watching TV. Like sometimes they have a lot of like whole long series of running the reruns.
I'll probably sit down with it. I was enjoying what I saw of it, and I love the movie.
Yeah, the movie's great. So, essentially, we've got two new antagonists. We don't know what's up with them, but they're obviously, speaking of mirrors, sort of a mirror of Book and Michael.
Oh yeah, very much so.
And Book is seeing that in a lot of ways. I was very much glad at the end of the second episode that Book didn't know her from like being evolved or something like that. It's just his old mentor's daughter, which is an interesting way to go.
Yeah, we'll see. She clearly recognizes the name too, so she obviously knows what's up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they're going with this. So I don't know how to feel about it yet. We'll see.
What I thought was interesting is when you look at the episode titles. One of the episode titles is episode 5 is called Mirrors, which I thought was very interesting. And then the final episode, episode 10, is called Life Itself. So to me, that kind of indicates that this plot is the plot for.
Oh, this is definitely
You
the
know,
plot. Like,
yeah.
they wouldn't be. Although keep in mind, like, so we haven't really summarized the plot yet, which is fine. I don't mind just ad hocing everything.
Nope.
But this all ties
We are
into.
unprepared.
Yeah, I always just ad hoc everything. This is just how I go. But keep in mind that this does tie into an often an episode of TNG that I think a lot about, but that most people seem to have forgotten about.
Okay.
It
Oh, the progenitors. Yeah.
yeah. So the episode where like it's the Romulans, the Vulcans, the Klingons, and the Federation all show up on this planet looking for this great treasure, and the treasure is like a hologram of a progenitor being like, "Yo, we created all life on universe. You are all derived from us," which I fucking hate. I hate the
Because
chariot.
it's just to say this is why all the people are humanoid in Star Trek.
Yeah, it's which doesn't make sense because that's not how evolution works. It drives me at the wall. Now I hate the chariot. I hate the chariot of the gods hypothesis. Drives me at the wall. It is responsible for so many conspiracy theories.
Mm.
And like it turns up everywhere. And I don't like it. But it regardless of how I feel about it, it's canon and it's canon Star Trek and has been since the 90s. And so if you're going to make a canon, you may as well acknowledge it.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's interesting because it's like part of this recent sort of trend or recent maybe it's directive in the Star Trek shows, a red directive perhaps, to connect everything somehow to the other shows or to the past or something like that, which I like a lot. And this may be the thing that you were kind of getting at. I like a lot in the shows that are set in those time frames or set in the past. But with Discovery, it seems a little like I'm not sure if it belongs there. And I think that's kind of what you were getting at.
I think so. I think if you're thematically going to do the all life has one source and we're all actually one people, which my dislike for the hypothesis called panspermia and popularized by a book in the 70s called Chariots of the God, which is why I call it the Chariots of God hypothesis. Isn't like I don't think Star Trek is really feeding into like it's a lot of conspiracy theories come from. It's a very popular, very influential book with among like right wing spiritualists. It's like a lot of UFO cult stuff comes from it too. And I don't think Star Trek is intentionally drawing on it. It's just sort of out there in the ether, sort of out there in the pop culture. And I think Star Trek is just sort of picking it up secondhand. So I don't think they're intending to do really what like the spiritualist movement has done with it. I really think that they're trying to like. I really think it's going to be a message of like we're all one people ultimately.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Which is not how like if you talk to like right wing esotericists, which I do because I'm really an esoterica. Although for historical and philosophical reasons, I don't think aliens are going to give me superpowers.
Aww.
If you
I want them
so
to give
if
me
you talk
superpowers.
if you talk to them, they will sound like they think that, but if you dig deeper into their ideology, they're mostly just white supremacists. Which I don't think is where Star Trek's going. But I get antsy around these themes regardless. Like Assassin's Creed uses them too, and Assassin's Creed clearly, like whatever else I have to say about Assassin's Creed as a narrative, clearly not like they managed to take a lot of like right wing conspiracy stuff and use them in a way that's not anti-Semitic and that's not racist. So it can be done. And I don't, but I get antsy around these themes.
And that's fair. I mean, that's a fair thing to be concerned about how these things are taken and then taken as like legitimacy or whatever. So that's always like a fair thing to kind of be concerned about or look at and go, I don't love. Um
But
I'm
it's
not
also,
sure why like it's interesting that they chose this specific
I
one.
think Discovery, if you're going to explore this theme,
Mhm.
I think Discovery is the right show to do it with.
Yeah. And I mean that's one of the things that I love about the show, and I was so excited for it coming back, is because like I mean these two episodes were very exciting, but were um surprisingly action-packed episodes of Discovery. Um but they,
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of, like, I don't go. We've talked about this plenty of times in the past, and the action's well done. I don't have any, but I don't go to Star Trek for action.
mhm. Well, that's why I was
Honestly,
like kind of saying they were surprisingly for Discovery, because they were still sciencing. Like the
mm,
science was happening, and that's what I love about
uh,
Discovery is they science their way out of things. But it was like even stopping the avalanche.
oh, the two starships be like dome boom. That I thought was really fun.
Yeah,
Uh,
and without the action sequence leading up to it, you wouldn't have a reason for them to do that
yeah,
probably,
I
unless
uh,
it, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I was on my phone for a lot of that sequence, so I kind of had no idea what happened. I
Basically,
gather from the trial that what's his name, the other captain, started it, but
no. Sort of. Basically, Mull and Locke had rigged the tunnel they were going into to blow up behind them, so you couldn't follow them. So Rayner said, "Blow it before they get into there." And
okay,
so they did. The Antares like blew the entrance to the tunnel, and they couldn't get in. But then they got the idea of it didn't cause an avalanche. But then Mal and Locke were like, well, if we can cause an avalanche as a distraction, why not? So they shot at the top of the mountain, caused the
right, okay,
avalanche.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I just I'm not interested. Like, this is part of why I kind of tune out on a lot of social, a lot of media in general. As I get older, so I used to be a big action movie junkie.
Mhm.
But I find as I get older, for the most part, action has stopped being interesting to me. That's just I think that's pretty common as you age. Like, I don't think that's super unusual. Um, like I love, like, a lot of people talk about John Wick for the action scenes. I like John Wick for the vibes. I could not. I mean, it's 90% action, and the actions, unless you're like doing a John Wick where the action is like top tier,
Mhm.
I'm probably just going to tune out. Like I said, it's just, that's not to say action's bad. I loved action when I was younger. I'm just not there anymore.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's not
I
like
thought
I'm messing with Rick.
I thought it was a lot of fun. I just wanted to note that mostly because it was really unusual for Discovery to have that. But
I found that it
it was
isn't.
oh, it isn't? I thought,
Not
well, maybe
this is something Discovery has done multiple times,
oh, it does it.
which is
Yeah.
they start so they start their seasons with a big action number. They've done it
Right.
because think about, like, season, I don't remember a big action scene in season 3, but season 4, but I do remember one season 3, season 1 definitely,
Mm-hmm.
and season 2. Like,
Season
so
1 was huge. Like, I mean, that actually what
yeah.
all of this reminded me of season 1. And
And
that's probably part of the reason they're probably like
and
going back.
season 3, remember the big gunfight on the trader market
Mm-hmm.
where, like, Michael gets drugged,
Yeah. I
and
think
there's a
maybe I'm more thinking of season 4, because season 4 was much
yeah.
more like figuring things out, and I that finale is one of like the
Although,
best Star Trek episodes I've ever
yeah,
seen,
well,
that, you know.
and I mean, season 4 does have a big action scene, sort of. It's just a very different type of action. It's a Roland Emmerich action scene where a planet gets destroyed, as opposed to a big combat blowout.
Yeah.
But all the other seasons of Discovery have started. They don't keep it up. They always start with a big action number.
Well, it's probably to hook people in, and there was quite a bit in on the planet in the second episode, but I guess they're kind of like a pair in a sense. So,
also, there's also the whole scene with the Data, which I loved. I love that character. I'm angry they killed him.
yeah, Fred.
Yep.
Fred, which I immediately said, oh, he's like Data. So that was interesting, and that's a callback to Picard, because Alton Soong was the Brent Spiner character who created the whole planet of synthetic beings.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they got the Picard body.
Yep.
Which Gray also has a Picard body.
Yeah. And I really like the character. I thought it was very fun. I may really killed him.
Mm-hmm.
But,
well, they still have him.
Race stakes.
They
do. They have the body. They're scanning the memory, so they might be able to bring him back somehow. Synthetic stuff. It wasn't implied they could, but you never know.
You never know.
But yeah, it was a fun scene. I like that scene. I like that character. Mm-hmm. That was I cared about that action because like I was invested in this like rendezvous they're doing.
It was interesting for sure, and the pair are interesting. I'm interested to see where they're going with Maul and Locke. I like the connection more to Book's background than to just general Star Trek lore.
I really like Book. I'm always happy to see more Book. Really, like once again, I've always liked the characters on this show. I always thought all the actors were excellent. Like I said, my complaints on the earlier seasons are really in the writing. The performances have always been top notch.
Yeah. Since we're sort of talking about both episodes, I'll mention the second one. The second one is Under the Twin Moons. On Saru's last mission as Captain Burnham's number 1, the team ventures to a seemingly abandoned planet to hunt for what might be the greatest treasure in the galaxy.
They kind of run. I watched them back to back, so they kind of run together for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's part of the problem. They are kind of a set. They do kind of run together. Well, Saru's story in this is very interesting in these 2 episodes.
They have the oh no, it's his last day on the job. Will he die?
Yeah. Gary was saying that. He's like, I'm very concerned about Saru.
I at no point was worried, but I caught the tension. I'm like, I see the tension you're building up here. I do not believe you, show.
Yeah. Well, so Saru, whole plot is going from Rullick's offer last season to become a diplomat for Kelpian and the Kelpians. And, this is a great kind of progression for Saru. As they mentioned in the second episode, there's a lot of discussion with Michael and Saru about how far they've come. And she calls Saru at one point during that episode the bravest person she knows, which I thought was really the nicest thing she could have said to him.
I've always loved Michael and Saru's relationship. I love the sincerity between them. And they're so good at pulling it off because they're so sincere with each other. It could be hokey, but they both sell it.
Yeah, no, there's real love between them and respect, and you can really tell that, and it's great. It's great to see, and it's great to watch, and just really wonderful that Saru was fully backing her up the whole time through this Red Directive stuff, and really great that Saru was honestly torn between whether he wanted to stay on Discovery or take this like larger role.
I do wish we got to see more of the relationship between him and his ambassador. Like,
I think that's coming for sure.
Yeah, like and once again, they've only got 1 season, so they don't have so they're obviously like they have to start wrapping these story arcs because the show's coming to an end. And I understand why they're doing it this way, but I do wish that we got like because they start their relationship at the end of season 4, and now we're bouncing right to season 5 where they're getting married. And this is just how syndicated television works. They've got to wrap the story arc up, so it is what it is.
I kind of got more from them that like the getting married situation was because, they
They're
they
also
decided that they're older, and
yeah.
they do, and this whole situation with, Saru basically tells her that he wants to spend his life with her, and he doesn't want to be away from her and risk, like, it wasn't that he thought he could have been one of the people who died in the avalanche. It was more, in the first episode, it was more that he realized that, if he had died, he would have been thinking of her.
I wanted to, I like what I wanted to see, and once again, this is no fault of the show. Things got to get cut. But what I would have liked to have seen is I would like to have seen the building of that relationship where he gets to the point where he's like, this person is so close to me that I think of them as home. Because he calls her, he says, "You are my home" at one point to her.
I suppose I can see where you're going with that. I felt like last season laid that groundwork pretty easily, I bought it like immediately.
And once again, I don't fault the writing in the show. You have limited time and limited audience. You've limited time. You've limited audience attention span.
Yeah, so, and they obviously did a time jump.
Yeah, and I can accept that, but I do lament that we didn't get to see it.
And I think the main reason we didn't get to see more of it is, and this time jump happened, is so Book can be there and to speak of the other relationship.
I suspect as a result of this being last season.
Well, yes,
that's why I think this is. Like, I think this is.
I think they might have played it out more if Book was not in the situation where he would have to be away for a period of time and could not return to Discovery.
And Book and Michael are obviously the primary relationship. Like the what will happen to Book and Michael, like that's the romantic drive of the show.
Michael's the main character, so yes, yeah, exactly. And so
I don't like that. I don't fault them. I just wish we got it and understand why we can't.
Well, I think we're gonna get some of that this season with them getting married and everything, and get like a lot more of them being together because Saru is like leaving the ship.
I think it's interesting that they're already starting to tie up plot threads this early in the season. But Discovery's always been a very condensed show, so it's not that surprising.
It also might be that was just the trajectory. If they had stayed on the show, that Saru was going to become a diplomat and going to go off and do this and be kind of separate.
Already was in season 4. Season 4 was like, I'm a diplomat now, but I'm going to go back to Discovery to do my thing for one mission, and then he just kind of hung around.
Well, he'd never had taken an official position. It was just they were doing more diplomacy, and it was necessary for that situation. But that it opened the door to him doing that. And I'm wondering if they plan to if they had continued on, just have Saru be at Starfleet.
Yeah, it's the logical trajectory for him. I'm happy for it. I don't like. I just there is the like the cop drama of your partner gets killed just right before he can retire. Like, I was like, yes, I see what you're doing, show.
What you're trying to convince us Saru is in trouble, but in fact he is not.
I do not believe you.
So Michael and Book are in a weird place, I guess. Well, Michael sided with someone who was willing to destroy an entire universe to get back to the person they cared about. Potentially
Book, you mean? Yeah, Book sided.
Yeah, Book sided with exactly, with someone who was in that situation and willing to destroy everything to potentially get back to the person that they cared about. I still love that character. I think he is amazing. He's a great arrogant scientist.
So over the top.
Yeah, he was so over the top. I loved him.
The rest of the show is so naturalistic, and he was just like, yes.
He was an arrogant scientist, and I enjoyed that.
And the show is very melodramatic, like which is why, like, whenever Tig Notaro's on, Tig Notaro's like, "Hey, what's up?" Just like really natural, and the rest of the show is just like always on melodrama mode.
But speaking of which, Tig Notaro, Jet Reno was the one who gave Saru, Action Saru nickname.
Which is that's Jet Reno.
Yeah.
This show needs more of her.
She's coming back.
Always great. Oh,
That was one thing I was going to mention. She's definitely coming back. She's not gone. The other thing I loved about is that Action Saru was in fact Action Saru, to the point of using his spines to take out 6 drones at once.
You mentioned his stunt double earlier, and I wanted to say something that slipped my mind. Like, those foot prosthetics they have for him have got to be incredibly hard to run.
That's exactly what he was talking about.
Ground.
That's like, exactly what he was talking about in the video I saw.
This is because this is filmed in Ontario.
Yeah,
and I have spent my share of time running around the woods of Ontario, and it's got to be extremely difficult in those shoes.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what Doug Jones was talking about. He said that in those hoof boots, basically, that he's fine on set because it's all flat. It doesn't move. It's all like level. But he said if you're in the forest, there's roots and rocks and fallen branches and dirt and holes and all kinds of things. So it wasn't something that was going to be doable for him. So he was like, I give great credit to my stunt double. I hope you can't see the difference, but whenever something had to happen, I would tiptoe off and he would come in, and he said, not very Action Saru at all. So
I definitely did not notice the difference. What I did notice is I was like, when he was running, like, oh, this is fast forwarded.
Yeah, it was definitely fast forwarded, and he definitely had to have someone who was not him do the running. Yeah. Doug Jones is just so wonderful as Saru, just as a friend and as, being, when he's, are you proposing marriage? And I'm like, yeah, because it's the logical thing.
I want to hug him so bad.
I know. He's so sweet. He's so sweet. I really love that. That was really wonderful. Tarina, are you proposing... we get married?
Boy, has the caffeine kicked in.
Oh dear, how much caffeine?
Well, these are 140 milligrams of caffeine. This is my second one today.
Oh geez. Okay. So let me go over this. So yeah, like I think a lot of the reason that Michael has issues, Michael and Book have issues in general. I'm not sure about Book, but it feels like Michael, from the discussion that she and Saru have in the second episode about Book, that Michael has not had a lot of relationships. And also, as Gary pointed out, she was raised on Vulcan. So I think...
Yeah, she doesn't understand humans.
Well, I think also she doesn't... Book didn't... What we find out is neither Book nor Michael really contacted each other. And obviously that was because... I think Book feels terrible and Michael feels betrayed, and those are reasonable things, but those are things you can get over if you know how to have a relationship. And I realized very quickly in the second episode that probably at the very least perhaps Michael and Book have not really done a lot of that, if at all. And so they, at the very least, Michael was like, well, this is the end of it. I can't be with him anymore.
I mean, Book's not technically a human. He's some alien, but he's functionally human, right? Like, yeah, he's a human with some animal telepathic powers, basically.
Yeah, and his his planet has been in a bad situation for a long time. He's mostly been like trying. Right. He was trying to protect.
His entire family's dead. Like his whole home got blown up.
Yeah.
So he has trauma. And Michael was not raised in her native culture. She was raised by Vulcans, who do not understand, who do not interact with relationships the same way.
Well, her mom was human.
Fair. Mom is human, you're right? But I still think, although we don't get a lot of her and her mom, it's a lot of her and Sarek. It's not
there is a little bit when Spock was around, or when Spock was around, there was more of mom, but yeah.
and obviously her mom plays a big part in Strange New Worlds, but she's gone by that point.
Well, I mean, her adoptive mom. There's also Michael's actual
Oh,
mom,
yeah. No.
who abandoned her and is kind of a jerk sometimes, but
Michael's
a badass.
Michael's bio mom is
a piece of work.
Is a big part of season 2 and season 3.
Mm-hmm.
No,
she's in season 4 too, I think. Yeah.
Is it? But yeah, either way, because she joins the
3 and 4
order of perfect candor.
Yeah.
Which, man, so much wasted potential there.
Yeah.
Hard. Why?
Yeah.
Why would you introduce such an interesting concept and then just use the character to be a ninja?
He was a great ninja, though.
I think the school of perfect candor and like all of that I think is really interesting, and Picard just does nothing with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Totally. So I think at the very least Michael doesn't really know how to have a relationship or how to get past a problem, and they have a large problem that they need to get past. So yeah, I think that's kind of where they are.
It is interesting. So I'm not one of these people who's like, they cry too much on Discovery. I do think it's interesting that Michael is raised by Vulcans and yet does show so much emotion.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting dichotomy.
Yeah, well, I mean, she shows emotion she's comfortable with, I think.
Yeah. No, and like this once again, this isn't a complaint. I think that's
Oh no, I'm just saying like what I think, the reasoning is, because I like to analyze people. Yeah. And I think Michael's main thing is she's comfortable with friendship. She's comfortable with certain kinds of emotions. And I mean Book would have a hard time too, because he's lost everyone he cares about and feels like he's probably lost Michael too. Yeah. Or at least is feeling extremely guilty and having a hard time contacting
her. If you want to pulp psychology, Michael, you could say that the reason why she does show so much emotion is because she's raised in an entirely different culture with people who have entirely different relationship with emotion than humans, and she doesn't know how to properly regulate them because she's not a Vulcan. I don't like. That's a pop psychologist now.
I don't think has unregulated emotion. I don't believe that. I think she's very measured about how she. But I think it's just more. Yeah, I think it's more that she represses stuff that she's not comfortable with a lot of the time, or at least you see, and she does tend to kind of shut down into Vulcan mode when she needs to. So, she's all business. So
yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I thought it was really great in the first episode, to show though how out of sync Book and Michael were when she's like, are you thinking what I'm thinking? And they mentioned 2 different planets. Whereas before they always mentioned the same thing. Yeah. They knew exactly what it was.
Season 3 and 4, they were always perfectly in sync and
yeah, and I think that's it was a really elegant way of showing that something's not right between them. It's not just that they haven't talked for a while or Books haven't had to do work with refugees or whatever. But I was happy in the second episode that we got Grudge back and Michael sucking up to Grudge and Michael liking Grudge, because Grudge is the best and everyone should like her.
Grudge is a queen.
She is a queen.
Grudge is great.
Space Cat.
The little mouse thing, Grudge is being like...
Yeah, I know. I love that. Where she's like... Gary said, Grudge was like, "That I know that mouse isn't real. That's a hollow mouse. I'm not getting up for that." Yep.
Yeah.
So, go on.
No, please. I was going to... If you have more to say, please say it, because I was just going to start wrapping things up.
Oh, no, I was going to go to another... Yeah, just another... relationship. Tilly, who we love and who was great. Tilly ran away from the dude that she ended up talking to after drunkenly, who also likes to walk and talk. I found that really funny when he showed up and he walked her back to her cabin when she was drinking. She plays very funny drunk, incidentally. Michael, where are you?
One was I maybe I wonder if I like got to the kitchen. I don't remember this, so I'm wondering.
Okay, so essentially,
at one point, at one point during my 2-hour viewing of these 2 episodes, I did get up to go to my bedroom to plug my phone in because it was dying. I'm wondering if this is the point that I did that.
it might have been. Tilly had been drinking champagne with one of her colleagues, who is apparently a who right at the beginning of the episode, she sees him and runs away in the background, and I'm like, did she just run? And then he walks her back, and I was like, is that the guy that she ran away from? But they were having a very cute flirtation thing, and she at one point she goes, it's so warm in is it warm in here? And he's like, I don't know, is it warm in here? And then she's just doesn't know what to do and like basically lets him leave. But I was like, he was flirting with, you literally yelled at the TV, he was flirting with you, Tilly, come on.
Tilly is super autistically coded.
Yeah,
probably why I like her so much.
Yeah. So
also,
I think she realized afterwards, because there's a great part where he leaves and the door closes and she smiles. She's like, and then she's like, thinks about it for a sec, and then she smiles again. So she was like, she's like, yay, that was great. Was that great? What did I do? No, it's fine. He likes me.
That's a very autistic moment.
It was adorable. She's like, yay.
Yeah, also like autistic rep in general is usually very bad, and I usually don't like autistically coded characters, but I like Tilly. Tilly's great.
I mean, I usually, there are a lot of characters that I see that are ADHD coded that are kind of Mariner, for example, that some I like and some I don't, but I can see Tilly's really great. Tilly's great at, showing that like so many people think people with autism or something like that, if she is autistic coded, don't express emotion. And she's so expressive and kind and warm.
People do express emotion, we just express it differently.
Yeah.
Mariner in a worse show, Mariner gets away with being Mariner because the show is otherwise so well written. Because in most shows, I would hate Mariner.
Oh no, but I think Mariner is amazing because she has flaws, like so many flaws that screw things up. As long as you have those flaws, aside from like the craziness or whatever,
but they're balanced as well. Like more autistically than ADHD, but like Big Bang Theory is terrible.
It's terrible on so many levels. I can't even.
Like the main character of Big Bang Theory is really autistically coded as well, and it's just fucking insulting.
It's a stereotypical autistic. Yeah. Well, it's all pretty insulting, to be honest. Like, there's really interesting pop culture detective videos about them.
Pop culture detective has done some great work on Big Bang Theory. I've only seen a handful of episodes. My mother watches it, so sometimes when I go home, I'll watch it with her.
My dad,
apparently my grandmother was a big fan, which surprised me.
No, I think
not the thing I would expect my grandmother to watch.
For some reason, boomers, I think, really like it. My parents really like it too. I'm like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
They're like, why? I'm like, oh, I can't even tell you.
Yeah, I like it's got my sister watches it as well, which surprises me. But I've only seen a handful of episodes, and I look at the odd chuckle out of me, but it's not good.
Yeah. It's annoying. But Tilly has some great moments in these 2 episodes, which I thought was awesome. I was very excited to see her again. She tried to hack the one of the best moments is she tries to hack the Starfleet security mainframe. Security comes in, Admiral Vance dismisses them and is like, well, I actually agree with you and would like to know what's going on myself because I don't know what the fuck's happening either. Apparently this is beyond Vance's pay grade even. So he's just like, it's a shame that I couldn't stop you, Tilly. Please execute your command. let's find out what's happening, because
that's something I did see. So that was probably when
Yeah.
I came back, because I do
Yeah.
remember that part.
Yeah, that was after she came back drunk and Michael had called her. And
Yeah.
basically she's like, Michael, where are you? Oh, you're not here. Anyway, and she's like, I'm going to have coffee. It'll be better. And then she basically asked her to do that, or asked her to find out.
They like to do like Tilly be drunk while working, because they've done it before. Because season 4's and season finale, she was like drinking as well.
Well, it was not a good scene in the season finale. They needed to. Her and Vance were having a bit of a drink because they're like, we could be dead any minute now.
Yeah.
Like,
and honestly, I loved it. I thought it was great. It's just, I'm like, yes, this is a thing they are now doing with Tilly.
The other best part, the other best Tilly moment was like, well, I can't just strand them all on an ice planet. I mean, could I? No, I can't. Could I though? When she's talking about training the cadets, basically. Yeah. With Adira, who had some really good moments too, actually, I thought.
Yeah, I wish we got to see more. I wish we got to see any Gray, but clearly he's coming up later.
Next episode.
Yeah, I mean they tease Adira's relationship with Gray, so it's clearly that they and he are going to have some time together, especially because they're going to Trill.
Well, did you? I don't know if you missed the conversation Adira had with Tilly about Gray.
Nope, I did not miss it. I got it. That's why I said like.
So I'm not sure.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, I think Adira and Gray, I don't know if they're going to break up, but they're obviously having some issues because Adira doesn't have Gray for one time. Yeah.
And we'll definitely see. I don't think they'll break up. I think that would be shitty. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to stay on Trill.
No, I don't think so. Not from that conversation. No, Adira, they said that they were without Gray for the first time in their life, and it was weird, but they really liked it.
Yep. But you and I read that conversation very differently.
I read it that like they might be taking a break from each other, or that Adira might have to say to Gray, like, I need some space for a little while.
I do think that will happen, but I don't think they're going to break up. I think what is going to happen is I think what's happening here is that, like, because Adira has had Gray living in their head since forever, right?
Yes, yes, exactly.
So as a result, I think what's going to happen is that they're going to have to go through a read, because this is a massive change to their relationship dynamic. So they're just going to have to learn to live with a new situation. I think that's what we're seeing. I didn't take this as like anything grave or like they're going to break up or anything. Like, this is just them learning a new relationship protocol.
I was wondering, I didn't know if it was them were going to break up, if they were going to take a break or not, but I saw that it was definitely an issue within their relationship that they might have.
It's an issue, but like this show is all about, like, all of Discovery, except for maybe a little bit except for maybe season 1, but certainly by season 2, this show had become all about like examining problematic relationships and then learning how to work through them.
Yeah, and I think we see that with Michael and Book. The only other thing I was thinking about with that is that since Adira and Gray are both so young, this may be an analog to, you know, your high school partner or your high school boyfriend or girlfriend, and outgrowing that.
Maybe I'm looking at this too much in a meta sense, but I don't think they'll break the first 2 trans characters on Star Trek.
I don't think they will necessarily, but I think they may break up for a short time, or they may take a break from each other.
They're going to have a rough relationship for the rest of the season, and then they'll patch it up by the end and move the Trill.
That's a possibility. Or they'll be like, okay, Adira, you stay with Starfleet and I'll be on Trill and we'll work it out. You know,
you'll
sort of thing.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
You're on the teleporting ship. You can.
Yeah, and it was nice to see also Hugh and Stamets be just fine. They're just good. everything's good with them, and I'm like, that's good. That's all we need. That's fine. They can be good.
They've had multiple seasons of their drama. Let them just be happy and stable.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things I really enjoyed through these episodes also was Hugh being a support for Book. Like literally hugging Book when he came back on the ship. And
hugging in these couple episodes. It was really nice.
Yeah, it was really nice, but like Book's surprise at that was really I thought telling as well.
Yeah, Book feels he betrayed them and he's surprised to be accepted.
Mm-hmm. It so warmly, I think, is the other thing. Like other people were just kind of there. They didn't say anything one way or the other, or they greeted him. But Hugh was like, I'm glad you're here. And if you need to talk, buddy, I'm here for you because that's my job, but also I'm your friend. Right? Like it was cool. I like Hugh so much. I liked Hugh referring to his abuelita. That was cute.
I'm just suddenly reminded of the general in season 2 was like a counselor and how an unusual dynamic that is. And I'm really I have issues with season 2, but like the idea of being like, no, you can be a counselor and still be on track for like Admiralty, I thought was really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Admiral of Mental Health or some, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like something like that. So great too. We saw Picard in the first episode, like literally a picture of Picard.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Spock in season.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, so that was interesting. And the party they were having was for Federation Day, which I thought was kind of cool. Which is just basically the celebration of the Federation's founding, which they haven't had in quite a long time. So, there was something else about Fred I was going to mention. I don't remember what, but that's okay. I'll figure it out later. It's fine. So these episode, the first episode was really interesting. Interesting to see Romulans, to see old Romulans. Yeah, and I love a speeder chase. It felt very Star Wars coded.
Like I said, I was on my phone for most of it. I was just like, I'll be back when the action's over.
It was fun.
Crashing with the ship. That's interesting.
That's where Book kept telling. That's where you missed Book telling Michael repeatedly that Raynor and her are exactly alike. Through that whole chase, she keeps going on about how much she hates him and how much she's mad at him. And Book keeps saying, oh, sounds like someone I know. I can't imagine why you're mad at him. Like going like, you are the same fucking person, Michael. Like,
yeah,
down, right?
I mean, I was after Saru gave his speech to her about like, you need someone you are a force and you need someone to like push back against you. I knew that he was going to be her pick.
Yeah. And I don't think she wanted him. I think Saru was kind of like directing her towards that, perhaps.
Yeah.
So in the second episode, let's see if we missed anything here. Again, just really nice to see these conversations between Saru and Michael. Really quite lovely. And I really enjoy them, and I hope there's not less of them because Saru's going off to become, a diplomat. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the mirror thing about Maul and Locke being sort of a mirror of Book and Michael when Michael and Book are having problems. Yeah, I was gonna say that comes up a lot more in the second episode. They're very interesting. They're people who like to steal things. They're in love. They're thrill seekers. That's what Book says.
What they really are is they are Michael and Book. So in season 3, we have Michael and Book, and then season 3 time jumps a year. Mm-hmm. And then Michael and Book sort of have a whole life before Discovery joins them in the future. Mm-hmm. And really who they are is Michael and Book in that year time jump that we didn't get to see. Mm-hmm. And I think that is interesting. Also, she is also like not the woman fuck Mull
Maul.
yeah, Mull is that's right, Mull, because it's like Melinda or something like that's her real name. Um, she is like tied to Book's past. She is the daughter of the person who trained him in crime.
Yeah, and her name is Boleyn. Yeah, she's a daughter of Cleveland Booker the Fourth, his mentor and namesake, which means she has probably problems with Book too, because her dad left her somewhere, but had time for a Book, right?
Right, and also like they're sort of like these new villains. They're very Bonnie and Clyde. They're also sort of black boxes at this point. We know that they want this relic that like shows that all races in the galaxies are connected together.
Well,
progenitor race.
It's not just shows it; it's allows you to create life.
Right. Because this is the code that they use to do that in the first place. Although the Genesis device already exists, but let's not get too hung up on continuity.
I think it's to create specifically like humanoid life.
Yeah, and the
Genesis device is just to reboot a planet, right?
And Genesis, Shields of Tomorrow is not officially canon, but my brain thinks it is.
Oh, okay.
And Shields of Tomorrow is all about the Genesis device.
Okay.
Shields of Tomorrow, I think, is canon with the video game, but the video game is its own separate canon.
Okay. Well, in any case, within this continuity, I imagine the Genesis device just reboots a planet, and the progenitor, whatever, does this, and it was kind of cool because when they went down to the planet, they had to figure out puzzles and figure out clues, and they found part of the clue under things that they're putting together a key, and Maul and Locke didn't find all of the message. That was kind of fun.
That was. I did like the fact that they got a one up on Maul and Locke because they took more time to investigate. I thought that was fun. We didn't talk about the graveyard planet at all, which I thought was even though I was just shit talking action scenes, I actually was like firmly gripped for that.
That was really cool. Yeah.
Once again, because it wasn't actually about the action. They were under suppressive fire, but it was like, we might die. We have to address relationship issues.
Well, it was also they scienced their way out of it again. Raynor came in and was helpful in doing that, even in just being like, think about think differently.
And Raynor lost me at the trial and regained me with that scene because I was like back on his side when that happened. Yeah,
that was a great scene for him where he's just like, he shows up. He says later in the middle while he was having a break from being berated, to where he's hacked all Federation communication channels so he can listen on what's going on, and then drops in and basically tells Tilly and Adira that they need to look at things like not like 32nd century scientists, but like whoever built the planet is. Yes, you need to view the technology with historical context, and that was really helpful because they were kind of spinning their wheels for a minute there. And then he was gone, and I said he's like Batman.
He really is. So it works.
He really is, because he just wanders off on his own all the time. He speeds ahead. He does what he wants. He's very Batman. So that was super great. There was a lot of cool science stuff, and it was I love the idea of this like mausoleum planet and protecting it so people didn't. And one of the things I mentioned,
those aliens, those were just Batarians. Those were just the Batarians from Mass Effect. I was like, instantly I was like, that's just a Batarian.
I quite liked I thought actually the hands might be from dead things or things like the statue was going to rise up and chase them. So I was glad it was just drones. But
I'm going to show you a picture of a Batarian because I know you haven't played Mass Effect.
Okay.
It looks exactly like those aliens.
Oh, cool. Well, if that's what they look like, I assume so. But I had a point, and was trying to get. Oh, god damn it. One of the things I really enjoyed about that was, it'll come back to me, I'm sure. It's fine. What were you talking about just before?
I was just talking about how
Batarians?
like Batarians, yeah.
Yeah, before that.
I was talking about how much I appreciate that scene, and because it was an action scene, but there was a lot of character moments in it, and it held my attention because of those character moments.
Yeah, they science their way out of it. Rainer, blah blah blah.
It really reminded me of there's a season 1 episode of TNG,
right?
Where Picard and Riker and I think Crusher. It's been a while since I've watched it. I might be wrong about whom. Are caught on a planet that is being monitored by a drone, and they have to like science their way. It really reminded me of this one particular episode of TNG.
Well, there's a lot of kind of tiebacks, so it's possible it was kind of a shout out. What I was gonna say,
sure. I was sort of like I'm like, this could go either way. This might be intentional, it might not.
What I was gonna say is that one of the things I noted was when they got to this planet, Michael had said, we need to be respectful and ensure that like only the two of us should go down, no more people, and we need to make sure that we're respectful because this is like a sacred place. And
the aliens are like, we're just gonna blow this place up.
Well, I mean, but I really enjoyed that. Like I said, this is the first show that started to treat things like that in Star Trek. And I said, like, that's why it's really important. It set the tone for how these things went. And I'm like, it's a very different way of looking at things and looking at your ability. Like, just because you can travel through space and teleport somewhere doesn't mean that, you should necessarily, unless it's absolutely necessary. And you should try and disturb as little as possible. The other thing I really enjoyed through the sequence in the first episode was the deployment of the programmable matter and how much it showed up. Like Michael gets sucked. They have the portal weapon while Locke and Maul,
her body gets like spacesuited up.
Yeah, they have a small version of the portal weapon for Picard. They drop that in front of her, it goes off, she gets sucked into space, and immediately her spacesuit goes on.
I didn't grok that's what that was. I thought they just blew a hole in the floor.
No, it was the portal weapon.
Oh, interesting.
And the programmable matter shows up in the second episode where they lose their phasers, and either they teleport them or just programmable matter creates a new one.
I'm pretty sure what's happening is their programmable matter is making the phasers in their hand. There's actually a scene. I thought it was really fascinating. Right before when they're still on the Romulan ship, there's a scene where Michael takes her phaser, which is a one-hand phaser, and turns it into a
sniper rifle. I was like, what? And then it happened so fast, and there were so many other things going on, like I forgot about it. But I was like, what? She just like barrel, bam, bam, bam. That was super cool. And she tried to talk Locke and Maul down first, which I thought was great, because that's what Michael does. So what do we think is going on with them, those two?
No clue. No clue. They're black boxes. I have no idea. I have no other than this like tie to other than Maul's tie to Book. No fucking clue. They seem they're such black boxes. Like they're really unusual as Discovery villains. I like them, but they're sort of. Remember I was talking about how this has like a different character than previous seasons Discovery. They're the main reason why this feels so different. They don't feel like previous Discovery villains.
Well, the last one was Tarka, and he was a very
Tarka was
over
also
the
fun.
top,
Yeah.
but understandable. Like you knew where he was coming from. You were just like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
you're taking this little far, my guy," right? Like,
And then season 3 didn't. And then season 3 was the Orion. What's her name? The Emerald Chain.
mm-hmm.
And then season 2 was didn't really have one, but it was basically the Red Angel.
Well,
And then there was like
or was it the Kelpian who was blowing shit up because he was
that,
sad?
that was season 3.
Oh,
That
that
was
was
the end of
season
season
3.
3.
So that's what I was gonna say about season 3. I'm like, I think that was kind of the villain who wasn't a
Yeah,
villain.
but he doesn't show up until the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, but they
And
knew stuff was happening. Like
really,
he was
really,
still
it was
doing
the Emerald.
stuff.
Really was the Emerald Chain. Like Emerald
Yeah.
Chain was the villain, and then but this is why like I don't think the well I overall like Discovery season 3. I don't think the last episode worked. We talked about that in our stream.
Oh yeah,
I don't want to
There's
retread it.
there are all kinds of reasons it didn't work well. Yeah.
But yeah, the but so like we've had like these dedicated villains for, but we've known what their motives are.
Mm.
And this there we don't know beyond getting paid. It's clear that their motives are more than getting paid, because at one point Book is like, listen, I'm with the Federation, we can just give you money, and they're like, it's not for sale. So we don't know what their motives actually are.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Like, I mean, obviously Maul's motive is going to change now that she knows Book is Book.
Yeah, it's actually very possible that had he not said who he was, she might have taken the money.
No, they weren't up for selling it to begin with. They
That's
were
right.
after.
I think you're right. I think the price gets negotiated before he says who he is. Now that you mention it.
Yeah, they start discussing it, and he says it right before. He says, "All you have is each other," and then basically he tells Book, he tells them who he is, and she is not pleased with that.
Yeah,
essentially.
And like a well-acted scene, you can instantly see she's angry.
That's the thing that I really liked. I liked that he was like, I know her, but I've only seen her on video screens, and she's the daughter of this guy. And I was like, immediately when her face changed, I was sort of like, oh, is this an ex-girlfriend or something like that? Like, is this the complication? But I don't think so.
Yeah, I caught her being angry right away, but I was like, well, that's weird. I didn't start theory crafting.
Well, I was immediately like, oh no, she knows him. Is this an ex? But then I'm like, oh no, it's more complicated than that, because he says basically when he figures out who she is, that she is like the closest thing he has left to family, which is going to complicate again. I think it's great. A great thing, sucks for Book, but a great thing for the character and for the show, because he's already been in a position where he had to betrayed them. He didn't have to, but he sided with Tarka and tried to do some really terrible shit, because he was traumatized and he had lost his whole family and his entire civilization. So, I mean, now if he's in this position again, he may be in a position where he wants to save this person or try and convince them not to do what they're doing, which is counter to what the Federation wants. Because he cares about her. Yeah, 100%.
So, but I don't have a big rap on like who they. Like, I have no theories on who they are, what their ultimate, like. They could be middlemen for a bigger villain, which wouldn't shock me, but also wouldn't shock me if they are just the protagonist through the whole show. I have no idea what to make of them.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think like because of this plot, we're going to have them for a while. But I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
And like I said, like at the start of the show, I was complaining about Picard season 3, and like big part of the reason why I don't think the ending of Picard season 3 works is because of the surprise villain twist.
Yeah.
Like, so I think surprise villain dicey. Sometimes works. Sometimes it really doesn't.
I don't see a surprise villain. I just see them. They seem less villains and more antagonists. I think just because they're working at cross purposes. They don't seem like horrible people.
No, they're definitely like. I said they're Michael and Book from the Lost year after the season 3,
with a little less concern for other people and a little more concern for solely themselves, I think.
Yeah, because like between season 1, between season 3 episode 1 and episode 2, there's a 1-year time jump.
Yeah.
And which is weird because there's already a like 300-year time jump, something like that, 900 year, some
900, not 8 or 900. Yeah.
So already, so yeah, season 3 we went through time jump and then another smaller time jump. It happens, but they're really remind me of like Michael and Book from that period that we never really saw them with.
Yeah, so that should be interesting to see where that goes and kind of if Michael can recognize that and I think that whole thing is actually going to allow her and Book to work through things. I don't think they're permanently split up either. So
Michael clearly grasped it because like she knows to call Book right away.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, she knows what they are. I don't know if she sees how much they're alike them, but you know,
Book we'll see. Does.
Yeah, Book definitely does.
Caught it right away.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's making him a little sad, which is fair. But I honestly think they're going to work through it. I think any problems that people have will probably get worked through during this, final season. Like, I don't think they want to leave people in a bad place. Discovery has always been very much about hope. And I think it's going to be a hopeful, nice ending.
I agree.
So do you have anything else you want to add or any other thoughts about the episodes?
I don't have other than like I don't think Gray and Adira are going to break up. Like they're definitely going to have some drama,
not permanently, or
I'm not worried about their relationship. Like so they're going to have some drama, but I think they're going to work it out. I don't have a lot of predictions for where this is going. I do think similarly, I do think Book and Michael are going to have a happy ending. Because like when they initially. And I don't know if it was always the intent because when they started shooting this, they didn't know it was going to be the last season. They had to do a bunch of reshoots, which is why it was delayed. Because they're like, oh shit, we have to start wrapping up plot lines. Yeah. So they did a bunch of reshoots. So who knows what the original plan was?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Something I saw that was just interesting that I'll bring up again about Raynor. Is might just be a canon nod, but sharing the Grand Kite Order of Tactics honor with James T. Kirk is a hint at what they're going for, with echoes of that legendary captain finding himself out of touch in post-praxis 23rd century. This is a review from trekmovie.com that mentions that. So
him being a Kirk analogy.
They're both very Kirk, Michael and him.
Didn't grab it.
Oh, you didn't? I was like, he's very Kirk.
Yeah, no. I totally missed it. But now that you bring it up, I'm like, oh yeah, no, that perfectly lines up.
And I think that's might be an indication of like a lot of these Trek shows kind of like Strange New Worlds kind of rehabilitates like problematic stuff from the original series in some ways sometimes, right? Especially with the characters, especially with like say Chapel. Maybe Raynor is really a way to rehabilitate sort of the Shatner kind of version of this character and make a different character that's like a more thoughtful kind of person who's seen some shit. A more critical version, a person who's seen some shit by an actor who's known to play really complex, interesting parts and bring a lot to them. So yeah, we'll see. I don't have much else to say except I was really happy to see everybody again.
Rewatch Hardcore Logo.
What?
My only takeaway from this is I gotta fucking rewatch Hardcore Logo. I love that movie. I haven't seen it in years.
Oh, and Saru, one of the last things Saru packed was his Kelpian knife. They pointed out. So
Michael's like when Michael was like, your room will always be like this. I'm like, no, it won't. You're on a spaceship.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, what is it going to be? The greenhouse now? You're just going to transit. You're just going to be like, Saru's room is now the greenhouse, guys. And I'm like, yeah. Does Raynor not have to move in? Like, does he need? You have other quarters. You have a lot of quarters on Discovery. Just
is this like a deal? He can only live there if he keeps Saru's greenhouse going.
Yeah, you gotta live in. You gotta sleep on the moss like Saru. Okay. Because I was like, his bed is moss, man. Like, what the hell? So I mean, but
that could be a fun scene.
Yes, it could. It could.
Maybe we'll get that in episode 3. We'll get like the them explain to him that you gotta sleep on the bed of moss. Here's how you take care of it. It's fine.
Michael's room is great too. I always every time I always forget that she has like so many great couches and chairs in a circle, like a talking circle. I always forget that her and
Tilly aren't roommates anymore.
Well, no, because Tilly's somewhere. She's the captain. She has the captain's quarters. It's not as good vibes as Captain Pike's quarters. Captain Pike's quarters is just like a cool neighborhood hangout where you chill and watch people cook. Like that's what it feels like. It's just like, or the best house of anybody
Michael's is very professional.
It is, but aside from the nice comfy chairs around the talking circle, so everyone can discuss and not be at the head of a table.
Mm-hmm.
It's very Michael. But yeah, that's one thing I like about the design in this, and most of the shows is that like they've taken care to make things really personal, even though they're generic Starfleet. Like Tilly has a blanket that is like almost just a few shades darker than her hair on her bed, and I was like, oh yeah, because she loves that color because it's like her hair and reminds her of her. And it's fuzzy and warm, and I'm like, yeah, that's a Tilly blanket.
I mean, also, once again, Tilly's fuzzy and warm. That's Tilly's thing. So reflect that in the decor. I've always loved. This is another thing. Like once again, like when I complain about the earlier seasons, it's only the writing. Art directing has been on top notch since the go. Acting has been on top notch since the gate. Like I just think the earlier episodes have some pacing and writing issues, but everything else has been firing on all cylinders since the start of this show.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. And I'm really interested to see where it's going. I have no idea either because
I'm sad it's not getting 7 seasons. I'm sad it's not getting 7 seasons.
Me too. They did mention
Beat Enterprise by 1.
By the way, they did mention Orion's regrouping, probably their interval chain, and some Breen infighting. So and something about a Tellarite compliment, which I thought was very funny. But out of those, I don't know if any of those will show up as an issue, but quite possibly because it's the final season, so there might be resurgences of past plots at some point. For
maybe if they're planning on keeping this era going with a separate show, like maybe if the Starfleet Academy show is set in this era, they'll set up some of that for conflict for that show, but I don't think we'll see a lot of that. I think they'll focus on the main plot. I don't like where previous seasons of Discovery have failed has always been in trying to do too much, similar to Picard. And I think they're starting to learn the lesson that, like keep things focused on a main plot and then do some character work.
Yeah. I hope we see. I have a feeling that they are really setting up Tilly to run Starfleet Academy. So I'm really hoping that we're gonna see a little bit of that setup and some of the cadets that she was working with before.
We'll never see it, but I really want a Discovery season 2 Klingon spinoff.
That would be great, but you're right. We'll never see it because too many people hate those Klingons.
But like Game of Thrones, but with that cast and that like vibe.
It was very Game of Thrones, like honestly, like I really love. I'm like, wow, Klingon Succession, what's happening? This is great. It was Succession like way before Succession came out or ended.
So it's 11 p.m. I don't want it's after 11 p.m. I don't want to tie this up too long.
No,
I didn't want to say like that is one show. Star Trek. I know you'll never make it, but make it. I want it.
Yeah, no, that would be amazing. Would love to see more Klingons. That would be a hell of a makeup budget, though. So yeah, we don't know what's gonna happen. We were unprepared, but managed to talk for a couple hours about these 2 episodes, which were a great start to the final season. Very sad, but it is It is what it is. So
yeah. And like I said, I'm excited for where it's going. I will happily follow it to the end.
me too. Me too. So yeah, fingers crossed for a great season of disco, but almost all seasons of disco are great. I don't know if we're going to get up to the point of like decoding an alien language with, you know, mathematics and pheromones and needing multiple people from social sciences, humanities, and science to come together to science in the best way possible. But you know,
Mhm.
I don't know if we're going to reach that height again, but I live in hope and I trust Discovery
I
to make an attempt.
I think even though like I have some reservations about the subject matter for non-Star Trek related reasons, I think this is a plot they can turn, or is dealing with subject matter because they're dealing with like the foundational concept of all life in the universe. I think that if you want to do like a grand unification where like I think this themes are grand enough that they can hit those heights. Whether they do is a different story, but I think the potential is there.
Yeah, and I mean, that is the one of the groups of aliens that we've seen that are not humanoid.
Yeah.
So they may have to return to talk to those that civilization about how this happened if they've been around so much longer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or something like that. And as we see in the picture behind us, the writing, the Romulan writing from the
Yes.
diary, et cetera, from the tombstones is there. So obviously this adventure treasure hunt is going to continue for a little bit, I think. Which is fun. I love it. I really enjoyed it. I like the whole escape room puzzle solving of it all.
Yeah,
Amazing raceness.
It's a good premise to build an episodic TV show on.
Yeah.
It reminded me of National Treasure.
It does remind me of National Treasure, and as I just said, it's kind of like a Star Trek Amazing Race.
Yeah.
Except with way higher stakes. So maybe more like National Treasure. Yeah. Which is a good movie. A good movie if you haven't seen it. National Treasure.
I am ambivalent on National Treasure. I neither like it nor dislike it.
It's entertaining, is what I find. It's not okay, maybe not a good movie. It's an entertaining movie.
Yeah, that's fair. It's yeah. I would maybe yeah. I watched a little media. My standards are so high now that like nothing pleases me.
I know I generally enjoy things on the level that I can. You know what I mean? Like yeah.
It's like I said, it's where I'm at now. This is the first TV I've watched in 6 months, so that's just which was not the case, by the way. I used to watch a shit ton of TV.
I watch a ton of TV. I mean, I think either way, it makes you have higher standards because if you watch a lot of TV, you see a lot of bad TV or TV that's just kind of meh. And if you don't watch a lot of TV, when you come back to it, it's either not interesting or interesting, right? So
I've just like I said, it's the I've watched a lot of TV over my life. As a big part of it is the streaming. Streaming is a big reason why I stopped.
it's burnout. It's a real amount of it's exhausting.
I watch a lot of video essays, just stunning amounts of video essays and a lot of news, just staggering amounts of news.
Yeah,
but I other than Dropout, I don't have any streaming services anymore.
Yeah, well.
So I get my like half hour of Sketchcom every week.
Well, that's good. I mean, whatever works for you, really. Yeah. I will say Shogun is great, though.
I've heard good things, and I did really like the original Shogun. So,
it's I did not see the original Shogun, but
X-Men '97. I'm a big X-Men fan.
I've heard X-Men '97 is great too.
It's gotten great reviews. So Disney gives money to Israel, so I have re-upped my Disney Plus account. It's not on the official BDS boycott list. I might pick it back up again. I'm kind of whinging on it. Also, I'm going back to school, so like
I thought you had my Disney Plus account.
They don't do password sharing anymore.
Oh,
they got rid of password sharing.
Oh, okay.
So
weird.
I don't because I haven't for months because they got because they got rid of password sharing for a very, very brief period. I had my own, and then I just canceled it.
Yeah. Well, that's annoying because Netflix cracked down on that too. Everybody did. Yeah. But speaking of the war briefly before I go, I just thought I'd bring this up. I saw this earlier today or yesterday from a friend, Audra Williams. If you're interested in doing something for Gaza and Palestinians and are feeling like there's not a lot you can do or feeling kind of, there's not a lot you can do or helpless, there is this ability to, let me just finish this and I'll get back to you. There is a site, it's up here, gazaesims.com. If you have some money, there are a number of cell phone providers that are offering discounts for people buying eSIMs, and these eSIMs are being transferred to people in Gaza who need them, who are cut off from being able to connect or communicate with the outside world. So if you have a little bit of extra money, maybe like $14, $7, whatever, you can buy an eSIM for someone in Gaza for a month or so. So if you have the time or if you have the money to do that, this is a great cause. And I think it's a great idea and a great way for a lot of us to feel, like we're making a difference in someone's life.
I would also just like to say, support BDS, boycott, divest, and sanction. BDS has a list on companies that are being actively boycotted. Some of it, my other stream, my politics stream, went over the whole Canadian list. Some of it literally can't be boycotted, like the entire Ontario government is on that list. You kind of can't boycott it, but try to do your best. I currently am not drinking Coke products or Pepsi products. The energy drink I have been drinking this entire time is Guru Energy, which is not on the BDS boycott list. Also, Guru, sponsor me. Give me money. Or just give me energy drinks. Just pay me in energy drinks.
I mean, yeah, if I were not already boycotting my school by being on strike, it would be very difficult for me to boycott my school.
But you should still boycott as best you can.
If you
want to know who not to support, BDS has a list on their website. Also,
yeah, if you look for BDS Canada.
My other stream, the one I do on Alternative Sundays to this, we are currently reading. It's a book club. We are currently reading Israel, Palestine, and the Queer International, by Sarah Schulman. Obviously, all about Israel and all about BDS. So tune in there. Happen alternate Sundays to this on my channel, A Bright Green City.
Yep.
Not to be confused with a Neon Green City. My Twitter, it's confusing. Basically, someone on Twitter is camping on a bright green city. I can't use it. So I went with Neon instead.
Yeah. No, exactly. And definitely check out Green's other stream. It's a great stream and super interesting. Here we go.
And if you want to do the reading, this is the book we're reading. Come join our chat. We do. We're not a particularly big stream, but we do encourage people to do the reading and come talk about the book with us.
Yeah, I don't have. That was just our Twitter. I thought there was more. That's okay. In any case, and we have a ticker from when we thought that Discovery was going to be in early 2024, but. I mean, I guess sort of it is. Yeah. So I think that was about all. Yeah, I think so. But for sure. I was gonna say, yeah, McDonald's is buying back all of its franchises in Israel. So I mean, that is proof that
McDonald's, it certainly looks like they're going to divest from Israel. Good.
Well, no, they're not divesting. They're buying back their franchises.
But they're buying. But it looks like they're buying back in order to divest.
Yeah, in order to or at the very least stop their. If they're not going to leave, they're at the very least stopping what the franchisees are doing, which the controversy was giving free food to the army.
Right. I can't boycott McDonald's. I already don't eat there. But
yeah, but I mean, the people who have made a big deal about that, and Starbucks has made some statements to try and back off certain things as well. So I mean, I haven't been to a Starbucks in forever now. So yeah, it's definitely something that people are paying attention to.
I drink Guru and Ghost for energy drinks. I don't buy Rockstar. I don't buy Monster.
Mm-hmm.
And I drink Fago for, even though Fago is Jewish owned and kosher, it has no financial ties to Israel that I'm aware of, and it is not on the BDS list.
Mm. Well, I'm sure it would be there if they decided that. Yeah, they did their research.
And it may even have, but it just may not be like enough financial ties. But it's not on the boycott list, so I've been drinking it.
Well,
also, like, Israel is losing population, is actually not particularly highly supported by the world's Jewish population, which is something we go into in my book club. So it's 2 natives and one Jewish host. So it's myself, I'm Metzi, my co-host Atosha, who's Lakota, and we have a guest reader who's Jewish, because this book has so much to do with Jewish identity that we want to bring a Jewish reader on. So yeah. So anyways, tune in there. We talk more about all of this.
No, and it's important to recognize that. Important to recognize not everything that's happening is Israel or Gaza right now is supported by everyone there as well. We just don't hear about it.
Yeah. So the fact that Fago is Jewish owned is no reason. Like, I've gotten some pushback on this. The fact that it's Jewish owned is no reason to boycott it. Jewish identity is not synonymous with Israel.
They could be anti-Zionist Jews. Yeah. 100%.
I know nothing about the owner other than the fact that it's a soda that is kosher.
Yeah. I know nothing about Fago either, except for Insane Clown Posse loves it, and all of their fans drink it.
It's also delicious. It's actually really good. Like, I don't like their cola, but their fruit flavors, like their pineapple, is really just generally good. Best pineapple soda I've ever had.
Yeah, I think the Fago that most people with ICP drink is like fruit punch or something like that. Mm-hmm. So story checks out.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well,
we're at the 2-hour mark, so we should probably sign off.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been watching. We hit like in the 80s at one point between Twitch and X, Twitter, and Facebook, et cetera. We're at 73. I don't know if that's people still watching or what, but if you are, like, we appreciate you so much for listening to us ramble about Star Trek, watching us ramble about Star Trek.
I should talk to you about how much you pay for this service, because I don't pay for it, so I'm only allowed to stream on one platform. The ability to multi-stream might be worth some cash, although I make no money off my stream.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we'll talk about it off screen,
do any of us, but yeah, first time streaming on X/Twitter, so that worked out well. Thanks to everybody for checking this out. We'll be back in 2 weeks, assuming that everything goes okay, and assuming that even if I go back to work, I'm sure
you being on strike changes things, so that might change our dynamic. But for the time being, we are planning to be back in 2 weeks, and I have my book club in 1 week.
Yeah. In 1 week, go over to A Bright Green City and check that out. And solidarity with QP 3903 out for we're on our 7th week out.
The union makes us strong.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I'm glad to be part of York's union, to be honest. So yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much, Green. It was great to talk to you again.
As always, live wrong and expire.
Live wrong and expire, man. That's the way to do it. All right. Thank you, everybody. You all have an awesome night, an awesome weekend, and a great start to your week. Enjoy the eclipse tomorrow. Don't look at it with glasses.
I will be at work.
Well, I mean, to everybody, but
I'm in Toronto, so we'll get most of it, and we just won't get the full. We're still getting the eclipse. We're just not going to get the full total eclipse.
It's like a little disappointing.
A hair too north for it.
Well, given Niagara has declared a state of emergency, I'm not trying to.
I got a bunch of friends who are going to Niagara to watch this, so we'll see how that goes.
They should not do it. They told everybody not to go. They've got over 1 million people coming, and
wow, really? All right. Well, I'm gonna hop into a chat with those people.
And they've got like all the e-bikes are booked.
Okay.
All the hotels are over $1,000 a night.
I don't think anyone I know who's going is spending the night. I think they're going.
Oh no,
Toronto, right? They're going to drive down.
It's just going to be obscene. Like, I'm not even. I was thinking of driving even just to like Hamilton. No, all the cars, all the commune auto cars in Toronto are booked. Like It's not happening.
Yeah, I just can't afford to pay. I just can't afford the day off work. Like,
Yeah.
not with me going back to school and all that. Although my classes are once a week and not that expensive, but still.
Yeah, no, it's still important. It's still important to maintain that. But anyway, all right. Thank you all.
Cheers.
Have a great night. Have a great rest of your weekend. Cheers. See you in 2 weeks. See you in a week on Green's channel. And have a good night.
All right. Take care. Have a good one.
Everybody. Bye.